Hello, everyone. Welcome to this week's Breath Tune-Up. I'm Brian, joining you from the very north end of Brigantine Island on the New Jersey shore. No more than a few miles from one of the busiest, most densely populated stretches of shoreline on the Atlantic coast. You'd never guess it here, where it is just all light and air, water. And I'm so delighted to share some of this spaciousness with you in this tune-up, and grateful that you took some time out of your busy schedule to breathe with me. Now, in this session, we'll try to take advantage of this sense of spaciousness by slowing down the breath and easing the mental chatter. So we may notice in all of our breath sessions that the mind can wander, how easily it wanders. And we also know that there's always another breath for us to bring our focus back to. So just as there's always another wave arriving at the shoreline and receding, there'll always be another breath for us to bring our focus to quiet the monkey mind and to ease any stress, tension right out of the body, wherever we may find it. So with that, why don't we get started with the head tilt or two, if that feels good. And I should note that our exercises today are safe and appropriate for folks of all ages, body types, and experience levels. You can move into a head circle or two if that feels good, clockwise and counterclockwise. And I'll also note that we'll be breathing in and out through the nose to maintain a soft focus on the breath and our experience in the moment. Why don't we practice a few repetitions of the cat-cow, seated cat-cow. So from the side here, you'll see I bring my hands back near my pockets to expand the front side of the body. And together on the count of three, 1, 2, 3, let's inhale slowly through the nose and expanding the abdomen and even the chest. And we'll exhale and slide those hands towards the knees and around the back like a scared kitty cat. Inhale, slow and low. Expand the front side, drop those shoulders, exhale, round the back. Let the head just hang here. Maybe pull the belly in a bit. One more. In, slow and low. Chin level, out, let it go. And we can now bring some attention to our seated posture, lining the ankles up below the knees. Hands resting wherever they're most comfortable, chin level, and as we practiced a moment ago, dropping those shoulders and even pulling the shoulder blades gently towards one another. And this might be a nice time to close the eyes or fix them at a point in front of you, softly. And we'll set an intention for our practice. Calling to mind a word representing a quality that we feel the breath might help us with, be it patience, compassion, resilience, whatever that word is. Let's hold it in our minds, and on the count of three, 1, 2, 3, inhale slowly through the nose, and let's inwardly repeat that intention, and exhale, let it go. Try that one more time. In, repeat your intention, and out. Make that imprint. And now we'll bring our attention to the very tip of our nose, or that space right below the nose. And we can tune into the sound of our breathing. Adopting a circular pattern for the breath. So blending the in-breath right into the out-breath, and that out-breath right into the next breath in. Just as these waves behind me approach and then recede so smoothly to such a sublime rhythm, let's try to catch a little of that rhythm ourselves. In, slow and low through the nose, and out. Let it go. Noticing how the breath sounds, how even or perhaps uneven it sounds for us today. Knowing that there's no correct or proper way to breathe when we're just paying attention to it. And setting our bodies up to invite it in and release it. And you may notice a slight difference between the sound of the air in the right versus the left airway. You may notice a difference between the sound of the in-breath versus the out-breath. And now, next to the sound of our breath, we can bring attention to the sensation of our breath. So the feeling of the air as we invite it in through the nostrils, back into the sinuses, and then down past the larynx, our voice box, below that our trachea, and then those channels, the bronchi, heading deep into the lungs. Maybe we can trace the breath together on this journey from the space surrounding us deep into the lungs and then gently releasing. How does that feel? Now here on the very tip of this island, the air is relatively cool for a summer evening, dry. Perhaps ideal conditions. I feel so blessed. But I'm noticing on my out breath it's a little warmer and a little more humidified, which is logical. So notice for yourself, what are the qualities of the breath, of that air as you invite it in and release it. And now on top of the sound and the sensation of the breath, we'll bring attention to the movement of the body with each breath. And for that, I like to place a hand on the belly and one on the chest above it. And we may feel the belly, our abdomen, expanding on the in-breath and gently retracting. Maybe engaging some of those deep abdominal muscles to release every last bit of air, but without stress. But so much of slowing down the breath has to do with relaxation. Starting here in the abdomen, so as we allow those muscles to release, we allow our diaphragm, the primary breathing muscle, to move further down, thus providing more room for our accordion here, our lungs to open up. But we first allow the belly to relax. And I know we're so acculturated to button up and cinch our belts, tie ourselves into our corsets back in the day. Here, we're just releasing and inviting that next breath in. Feeling that breath slow down as the belly expands like that wave approaching at water's edge, and then the belly gently retracting on the exhalation as that wave recedes, taking with it any stress in the shoulders, tightness there in the neck, even the lower jaw. Let that exhalation carry it away. We'll take another few breaths of our overall awareness. Just had a little visit from a monarch butterfly. Also a few visits from the infamous green heads here in New Jersey, which explains my long sleeve top. But we seem to have reached a harmonious moment together here. Let's hope that stays. So, at the base of the next breath, we can release the hands to our lap, and we'll prepare for our first breath control exercise, which will be a balanced breath where we equalize the duration of our in-breath and out-breath. That's all there is to it. And in so doing, we balance the two sides of our nervous system. The sympathetic with the inhalation, so our get up and go, our fight or flight even, and our exhalation with the parasympathetic, our rest and digest, recover and restore. So when we balance these two sides out, we can achieve a sense of calm, focus that allows us to stay in the moment, not to get ahead of ourselves or to retreat to those monkey minds. So we'll take 3 of these together and then practice on our own. And I am going to just let us go for maybe 3-4 minutes with this balanced breath, maybe even 5 minutes, depending how good it feels in this new setting. So on the count of 3 together. 1, 2, 3. Inhale for 1, 2, 3. Exhale. 1, 2, 3. Nice. In. 1, 2, 3. And out. 1, 2, 3. One more in. 1, 2, 3. Release. 1, 2, 3. And we're on our own. Finding that rhythm that works best for us. Slowing down the breath. As we more deeply relax through the midsection. And create the space to invite that next breath in. And then gently engaging the midsection to ease that air back out. Slow and low through the nose. The breath comes, the breath goes. And when the mind wanders, simply bringing our attention back to the next breath. As we settle into our balanced breath, perhaps we can explore a slightly longer count than that which we started with. So, finding through the shape change of the body a little more time and space for that in-breath. And then as we gently engage the midsection, releasing every last molecule of air there in our lungs, the deepest recesses of the lungs, like we're gently wringing out a sponge so that we have that much more room for the next in-breath. And we're going to practice this for another minute and a half, 2 minutes. Always returning to the breath when we notice the mind has wandered off, but being gentle with ourselves. There's no judgment. There just is that next breath, that gateway into our present moment. And on these last few balanced breaths, perhaps we can find a slightly longer count. Following the shape change of the body, beginning down in the midsection, as if we're inflating an inner tube around our waist. And then gently releasing the air from that inner tube as that diaphragm rises, encouraging the release of the air. Following that circular rhythm. So last 2 breaths. And at the base of that last breath, we can return to a normal breathing pattern for a moment. Have a sip. Maybe adjust our posture if it's changed a bit for us. And I know this may be hard to believe, but I'm looking straight at the skyline of Atlantic City, maybe about 3 miles away, and just delighting in the contrast here between these spaces. Only about an hour 15 out of the city of Philadelphia as well. So definitely some down regulation occurring here. And again, delighted to share this breath tune-up with you as we prepare for our down-regulating breath, where we increase the length of our exhalation by a count of 1 or 2. And in so doing, further activating that parasympathetic side that we alluded to briefly a moment ago. And this is really where we hit the reset switch of the nervous system, letting go of all that accumulated stress in the shoulders, in the neck, down the length of the back, and releasing the grip of whatever it is we brought into our session, whatever patterns, thought patterns that are just so persistent, loosening their hold a bit, releasing the attachment. So why don't we begin together for 3, and then we'll practice on our own for about 4 or 5 minutes. On the count of 3. 1, 2, 3. Inhale for 1, 2, 3. Open up here and release. Gently engage for 2, 3, 4, 5. In 1, 2, 3. Out. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Nice. In 1, 2, 3, and release. 2, 3, 4, and 5. We're on our own. Savoring that lengthened exhalation. But let's maintain that circular pattern. And I know that can be easy to forget, but we're blending the in-breath into the out-breath as smoothly as those waves approach and recede behind me, or even the subtle gradations of the shadows here on this little dune, so smooth and gradual, just as our breath is handed off from the in to the out to the in. And find that count that works best for you. So I'm going to settle in myself for a few minutes here, and I'll be with you for every one of these breaths. And as we explore this down-regulating breath, this lengthened exhalation, I would encourage you to further relax, if that's even possible, further relax through the midsection, not just the belly, but the sides, there through the lower ribs, and even towards the back. So I mentioned a moment ago the inner tube. So expanding in a 360 fashion around the midsection. And you may notice that facilitates a longer, slower inhalation, which then feeds that longer, slower exhalation. And that's really our prize here, is that slow, lengthened out breath to soothe the nervous system, recharge the batteries. And just position ourselves for whatever it is to come. So another minute and a half, 2 minutes of our down-regulating breath. Softening the boundary between ourselves, our physical contours, and the space surrounding us. I know that sounds a little abstract, and of course it's easy for me here at the shoreline and not in my office, but try that, particularly on the exhalation, to soften the boundaries as if the space breathes us as much as we breathe the space. And another 3 breaths. Maybe even finding a longer count for this last one. And at the base of that final breath, we can return to a normal breathing pattern. Again, have a sip, a stretch if that feels good. And then I would like to, with you, return to our intention to sign, seal, and deliver this practice to ourselves. So we can close the eyes or fix them at a point in front of us. And on the count of 3 together, 1, 2, 3, let's inhale and repeat our intention word inwardly. And out. Release. Let's try that one more time. In, slow and low. Repeat the intention and out. We can bring a hand back to the belly and the chest. And we'll take 3 breaths to close our breath tune-up for today. 1, 2, 3, in through the nose and out through the nose. In, feel that midsection expand softly, and out, gently engage and release the air. And one more in, slow and low. And out. Completely release the breath. Let's bring our hands to heart center and acknowledge the consistency of our breath practice to whatever degree we're aware of it. We know it's consistent. And I just want to thank you for sharing your breathing time with me today. I look forward to seeing you in an upcoming tune-up. Until then, stay safe and keep breathing.